microscopic spores of a fungus known as Coccidioides found in soil. Fungus spores can be rustled from the soil and into the air by activities such as farming and construction, but winds also stir them.
I often hear people tell me that they till their soil because that is what grandma or grandpa did. That's what your aunt or your uncle did. But let me ask you a question. How many of those drank heavy alcohol and or smoked? But you don't, because you understand that there's more information out about drinking heavy alcohol and smoking cigarettes. It's not healthy. So you don't do what your grandparents, your aunt or uncle did. What if I told you that they were also incorrect about tilling the soil? And it's okay to admit that. I just showed you a clip that legitimately proves that agricultural practices are putting this fungus into the air and the wind is picking it up. So when you see pictures like this, the wind blowing from Texas into Louisiana, you understand why the rise of valley fever is going up. Now, folks, if you didn't know, my content is harmful to some listeners, so please consider supporting what we do here, and that is bringing you truth backed up with receipts so that we can educate people on how to live a better life. So welcome back to Starkey Farmstead, folks. My name is Samantha, and I want to have this conversation with you. See, I read every comment that is put on any video that I put out there. I myself read them. And I've seen a reoccurring theme, valley fever, valley fever. So I did a little research. Of course, I'm not familiar with valley fever because it isn't yet in Louisiana. But as I'm looking at the mini dust bowl that's currently hitting Texas and parts of Oklahoma,
nightmare of smoke and chaos. Smoke and flames crept towards Oklahoma State University, where students and faculty were ordered to shelter in place. This was the result as the air thickened with ash and dust. In the choking haze, dozens of vehicles, including semi-trucks,
and I realize that parts of California, Arizona, and New Mexico are being tilled up to be planted, and that fungus is being put into the air through the method of tillage. It's being picked up on the air and spread. I don't think it'll be much longer before Louisiana has something called valley fever. Now, I think as adults, we have to have this conversation. Just because your parents or grandparents did it doesn't mean it was right. You have to understand where tilling comes from. Tillage was not even introduced into America until the very, very early 1900s. Before that, people used a type and method of drawing a line in the dirt to plant seeds by ox or mule or horse. They did not till the entirety of the plot like this. So I found this video earlier today as I was doing my research to show you guys the difference in how we treat the soil and our ancestors did. So this person is legitimately going to go east to west, and then they're going to go south to north and north to south, crisscrossing this soil until they get it a beautiful fine powder. What happens when the wind hits this? Well, it's going to pick it up. So as we are destroying the earth, we are introducing bacteria and fungi into the air that belong in the soil. So when we breathe those in, yes, it's going to make us sick. Tilling is just so yesterday, folks. There is legitimately no reason to destroy the earth to then plant food in it. Nobody has ever done this in the history of man, but in the last 120 years. So it makes you think the earth is warming by their calculations. My 83-year-old dad said it's actually not, and I'm going to believe him. And you've got to look at what's happening with diseases that are here that weren't here prior. And then you have to put the two together. What is causing all the valley fever to become so bad in these states that do so much farming? I'm going to let you answer that. Yes, I do understand the concept of no-till is almost mind-blowing. I will never forget when I first asked my dad to help me grow food without tilling the soil. And he goes, well, Pumpkin, you just breathe some cardboard out there and throw it on the soil and cover it with leaves and wet it down. I made that so difficult. Like, my brain could not conceive that it was logistically that simple. Cardboard, leaves, wet it. That's it. That's all. Now, yeah, you can get fancy. I'm growing cover crops right now, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to cut that down, and I may tarp it. I mean, you can get as fancy as you want, but keep it simple, stupid is actually a saying for a reason. Now, folks, we are very smart. Humans have created so much, but God is smarter. And he has symbiotic relationships, and he has a way of feeding your plants in the soil through things like fungi and bacteria. But let me tell you a little story. I actually put a pitchfork through my foot a couple of years ago and pinned myself to the soil through my work boots. Yeah, it was pretty horrific. Within 36 hours of that, my foot was the size of a balloon and I was having major surgery. Why? Because I introduced a soil bacteria, not a human bacteria, into my foot that didn't belong there. And even though it helped grow food in my garden, in my compost, it was never meant to be inside of my body. And it made me very sick. I almost lost my foot. It was pretty traumatic. So what am I trying to tell you? There are things in that soil that don't go inside your body, but the soil needs them to grow your food. So if you would like to support our channel, buy my dogs a treat or get me a cup of coffee, we would be so thankful. The ways to do that is going to be listed in comments. Folks, I spend hours finding the receipts to prove this type of stuff to you guys to help you make informed decision. And now a lot of people were bringing up that we need to use grow houses to grow our food because of the dust and the mud rain and the chemicals coming down. No grow houses. Let me tell you something, my friends. There is a chemical that tomatoes produce that will reduce your chances of getting skin cancer. The catch is the tomato has to be grown directly in the sun, and it has to ripen on the plant. When they stopped growing tomatoes directly in the sun, started putting them in grow houses and picking them before they were ripe, when that practice began, there's a correlation between the increase of skin cancer. Food needs to be grown in the sun. In fact, let me blow your mind a little further. Pest attacks on plants will actually make the plant produce chemicals that when you eat that fruit or vegetable will actually give your body a chance to fight disease. Go figure. God has it figured out. He knew we would be in this day and time. I do not grow food under plastic, folks. I never will. I almost fell for that. I applied for the USDA NRCS grow tunnel, and by the grace of God, it fell through. I think the more I learn, the more I realize that there are plants and flowers and herbs that I can put in my no-till market garden out here that will clean my soil. I can cover my plants in worm casting tea that I make on my farm, and it will protect it from not only sun, but also toxins coming down. So be on the lookout for me and Leslie's book. We wrote a book, folks. We're going to help you do this. That book should be out mid-April. I am praying every day for it. Growing Under a Poison Sky. Be looking for it. It'll teach you everything you need to know, and you won't have to spend thousands of dollars for a grow tunnel. I'm telling you, put your money back in your pocket. You don't need all that. Love you guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Share this video with somebody that just can't do it unless they tear the soil up.